I was actually working with some of the world's best race car drivers, believe it or not, like Mario Andretti, Danica Patrick.
Are there any questions that you ask yourself consistently to make things more innovative and more, feeling the love through?
Freedom is about what makes you feel the most fulfilled and passionate.
I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, it's just you're not attracting the right opportunities and situations into your life. Hey everyone, welcome to the Tori Kruse Show, where we're shining a light on real conversations and transformational stories with some of the most dynamic entrepreneurs and faith-driven leaders you'll ever meet. I'm Tori Kruse, your host, entrepreneur, virtual stylist, and former Miss Missouri USA, ready to guide you along this exciting journey. This isn't just any podcast. It's your new home for stories that uplift, conversations that transform, and a community that feels like family. From the real challenges to the exhilarating moments of achievement, we cover it all, infused with adventure, laughter, insights, and heartfelt discussions. So settle in, make yourself comfortable, and let's get this show on the road. This is the Tori Kruse Show. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tori Kruse Show. Today's guest is coming at you all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. We have Brittany Driscoll on the show today. I am so excited to bring to you all this episode because Brittany is one of the most genuine, authentic, real down-to-earth people that you have ever met, but don't let it fool you. She is an absolute boss at what she does. She took Drybar from 30 million to 100 million. She is now the CEO and co-founder of Squeeze Massage. You guys, our conversation is just so much fun because she has such a heart to serve other people and help others feel special. And so she really focuses on the love brand is what she calls it. And just really focusing on the people. And I think all of us can use that in life and business. And it's just such a good characteristic that she has within her heart and soul that she is putting out into the world through her business and everyday life. And so I'm so excited to share Britt Driscoll with you all. She is so special, such an amazing human. Grateful I had the time to connect with her, and I can't wait for you to dive into this episode. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tori Kruse Show. We are so excited for today's episode. We have Britt Driscoll here with us. We are in the beautiful city of Nashville, Tennessee. It's a gorgeous day. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have a conversation with you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
This is so much fun because when we're traveling, doing all these different podcast episodes, we get to highlight entrepreneurial's journey for their business, their life, some tips, tricks, and in the most amazing cities all across the country. So you guys just heard Britt's amazing bio and backstory. I mean, you're like the queen of marketing, entrepreneurship, health and wellness. I'm just so excited to literally walk and talk with you and hear about your journey. So, where it all started was Southern California, right? That's where you're born, raised.
That's right.
You just moved to Nashville just about 4 years ago.
That's right. Yeah. Born and raised in Southern California. I started my career in marketing and advertising. Always been a big brand experience gal. I love creating meaningful moments and, celebrating people. And so I got to work with really amazing brands from Disney to Barbie to Hot Wheels. And then of course, Drybar, which is really kind of what catapulted me to where I am today.
I was this close to going to Drybar this morning and getting my hair done because I have the membership. And I'm like, shoot, I didn't get there, but I love that place. And you were the head of marketing. You took them from 30 million to 100 million. Tell us where that journey really began.
Yeah.
And how you took that business. I mean, just massive growth, honestly.
I mean, like you, I was a fan. I loved Drybar. I loved everything about it. I loved the memorable moments that the brand created. I loved that you got to sip champagne and watch fun chick flicks versus looking at yourself with wet hair. I loved how it saved me time. I would be able to knock out, 20 emails sitting in the chair.
Amen, sister. I'm telling you what, I mean, is that girl math? I don't know. But that is right there. Okay, sorry to interrupt you, but
it was so amazing, and it still is to this day. I mean, I'm also still a Barfly, a member, and I loved Allie's story. It's a female-founded concept. She was a hairstylist who just had this idea and wanted to, get it off the ground. And we always used to say at Drybar that we weren't selling blowouts. We were selling the happiness and confidence that comes with a blowout. Because when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you can take on the world. And so I loved the idea of just helping build a brand that stood for the happiness and confidence in women and being part of their special moments in life. And got to build a really great team while I was at it.
I love that. So where did this stem from where you were such an advocate for women empowerment and helping women feel confident? Did that start from when you were a young girl?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think so. I think I've always believed that like we can be who we want to be. I gave my 5th grade culmination speech, like, we can do it. So I've definitely always had that in me. But I also had a lot of really amazing women champion my career. And I think that really helped to set the tone for me in terms of what was possible for not only my own growth, but just how we help each other and how we can help each other. And certainly, working for a brand that was catering to women and empowering them, that kind of just naturally happened.
Yeah. So before Drybar, what were you doing?
I was working with Barbie and Hot Wheels. So really fun, iconic brands, all about inspiration and fun and imagination.
Yeah.
I was actually working with some of the world's best race car drivers, believe it or not, like Mario Andretti, Danica Patrick, a lot of the guys who drive Fast and Furious and car commercials that you see on TV. And we were breaking world record breaking, or we were executing, world record breaking stunts. We were creating global content campaigns. We were subverting major athletic events. So again, kind of always been in the world of brand building, creating experiences for people, and working with really amazing businesses.
Wow. So you went from Barbie, Hot Wheels,
Yes.
and then Drybar
Yeah.
from there. So how did an opportunity like that even come about?
Well, I was a huge brand fan and I literally obsessed about the brand. I saw that they were looking for a head of marketing. I always used to joke that everyone on my team at Drybar was like a stalker, that's how much of a fan you had to be in the early days. And I just, I knew that my experience in building brands and creating great experiences would dovetail so well to this business. And, I've always enjoyed kind of the challenges in building brands and special projects. And obviously Drybar was a startup at that time. And so I kind of knew that I would be able to take a lot of my experience in creating global campaigns and whatnot and apply it to a smaller business that I was really passionate about.
Yeah. And then so you were at Drybar creating this in the marketing division. What was one of the biggest projects and learning experiences that you had from a marketing and branding standpoint?
Well, I really put in place all of the campaigns for Drybar. Allie always jokes that I had this big whiteboard in my office and she came in one day and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm planning our strategy," and, just kind of putting together everything that it took to open a location and launch a product. It was honestly a lot of the fundamentals, but it was so much fun doing it. And then as the brand got bigger, it was so fun. Jimmy Kimmel would mention Drybar on his show all the time because his wife loved it. And we had celebrities coming in and it really was just the heyday of the brand. It was so much fun. And we got to be in, movie cameos and work with other really great brands doing fun partnerships. So it's hard to pinpoint one thing, but it was the rocket ship years, we were just going.
And then so when you were at Drybar, you were rocket ship, and then what was that turning point when you decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to actually branch out and start what now is Squeeze?
Yeah. I've always been an entrepreneurial spirit. So I really like the chaos of the unknown. I like building. I like figuring it out. And I had been with Drybar for 4 years and we had gotten to the point where it was a bit rinse and repeat, open a door, launch a product, get into a new retailer. And those experiences were amazing, but I was just itching to get back into kind of the chaos of the unknown, the building phase, the figuring it out. And so I had just gotten to a point, I told Michael and Allie, I'm so grateful for this opportunity, but I can just tell that I'm ready to move on. And they kindly reminded me that they always had this other idea for Squeeze. It wasn't called that, it was just this massage idea. And I can attest to that. We talked about it all the time at Drybar through meetings and, random experiences. And we were all avid massage goers. And so I really understood the vision of what we could do to disrupt the space. And, in its simplicity, we felt like there was a hole in the market. On one end of the spectrum, you've got low-end discount chains, which I always like to say to their credit, made massage accessible to the masses. And then on the other side, you've got high-end hotels and spas, which are really lovely but unattainable for that regular routine experience. And so similar to Drybar, we brought in that high-end, luxurious, sophisticated feel, but at an affordable price point. And then we've got our app, which is very differentiated. But the thing that got me the most excited beyond the consumer side was just the ability to create a brand that celebrated people.
Yes.
And so, it kind of was just the perfect moment where the stars aligned and we joined forces to create this little magical brand of ours.
And so how many years ago was that when you created Squeeze?
That was 7 years ago, believe it or not. So we started the concept in 2017. It took us 18 months to even get the brand into the world for people to experience. We were developing an app. So our core differentiation is we have an app that guests can book, set all their personalized preferences, pay, rate, tip, review. So we were building that out on top of finding a physical retail location and developing the brand. So like parallel pathing those two projects, which in and of itself was
that's a huge project in itself. Yeah.
And so, we focused on that for the first 18 months, and then we opened Studio City in March of 2019, which
was your first location, Studio City, California.
In Los Angeles, which in hindsight, of course, opening a high touch in-person business 11 months before the world told us to stay as far away from each other as possible was, in and of itself, like a very big entrepreneurial challenge. But flash forward to today, we have nearly 100 locations in development. We have
freaking awesome, girl. So cool.
We have 13 open. We'll have like 20, 25 by the end of the year, and then we'll continue to build from there. And that experience taught me, I'm convinced now, the most successful people are not the best educated, experienced, or well-connected. Like, they're just the ones who keep going and don't give up. And that's so much of our story. And I feel very passionate about telling that story because I think, so many people deserve to see their dreams come to fruition. It just takes so much longer than, we see on social media and things where it feels like it happens overnight, but it doesn't.
All right. So how do you get through those moments of like disbelief where you're not seeing the progress, but you're doing all the behind the scenes work. You're spending hours on hours working on your dream and your passion. It's a great idea and it could come to life. But how do you keep that belief in yourself and your team to keep going?
I think one of the most important things about building a great brand, like a long-lasting brand, is this idea of standing for something bigger or greater than what it is you're selling. Like, I think you need to have a very strong vision, a why. And, for us at Squeeze, it's to transform communities for good.
Yeah.
It's not just massage. I mean, obviously we're doing that through the power of massage, which I love and believe wholeheartedly in, but it's also about how we're making people feel. And so I just know that we have this like great opportunity to make our small little mark in communities that will make a meaningful difference in people's lives. And for me, that feels very purposeful, that feels fulfilling, and that's what keeps me going, is just this idea and desire to impact people for the better.
Yeah, you have such a beautiful heart of just like helping other women and people just feel confident.
Thank you.
Believe in themselves though too, and just having a better, more holistic wellness life, right? Like you've been into health and wellness, and you even have other ventures that are specifically in that. So
you only live once, so
you only live once. You might not do it all, right? You're an entrepreneur.
That's
like,
right.
To the core. Yeah. So what are the other ventures that you have that's in the health and wellness to make people feel good?
So when we created Squeeze, or as we were creating Squeeze, we were doing it obviously with the hindsight of Drybar. And I really felt like as we started to do it, it was so clear, we understood how to create a really meaningful, what I like to call love brand, which is, something that just creates an emotional connection beyond the product and service. And we built out technology platforms. Like, we knew how to make the experience convenient and personalized, and, great architecture and design and culture, the people side. So I just felt like, gosh, wouldn't it be amazing if we could bring all of that expertise under one roof to help support other entrepreneurs, other women, other people who are wanting to do good, and just do it in different verticals. So we have one concept called OK Humans, which is a mental health concept. We have one location right now on San Vicente in Los Angeles. And, its whole vision similarly is to make seeking help for your mental health accessible, affordable. It's a really beautiful brand, similar to Squeeze. It has an app where you can book by therapist and really make it very convenient, again, personalized to you. And then we also have Bright Side, which is an infrared yoga and sauna concept. And that brand is just so beautiful and amazing, kind of similar. We felt like yoga itself is such an amazing practice, and so is sauna, but there's like outdated brands. So how could we really create something that just felt more accessible and aspirational? And so both of those businesses just have one location right now. They're a little bit more nascent in their life cycle, but we certainly hope to bring them to the masses sooner than later.
Yes. Okay. And so the mental health brand with like the therapist, is that only in person, or do you eventually see visions of it going virtual?
We really do believe in the power of face-to-face in person, just like this.
So do I.
But we do offer virtual as well, because certainly, we want people to be able to get help, but we want the majority to access meeting with someone in person, getting away from, your typical environment and distractions that exist elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have created multiple brands at this point, and a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs creating many of them are creating personal brands, but also, different businesses too. So what would you suggest to people to keep the love
Yes.
within their brand, not only within their internal team, but so the external world can feel that love through their business.
You know, I think when I was at Drybar running marketing, I always used to joke that I wanted to work myself out of a job, not because I didn't love what I was doing, but because I really believe the power of a great brand, and particularly marketing, comes from the experience and therefore what people are saying about that experience. Basically word of mouth, right? Your most powerful marketing tool, the most powerful way you can build a brand is by creating something that people just naturally can't help but want to tell their friends about.
Yeah.
And so that really comes down to like so much intentionality in the design of the experience, like all the little moments. For us, as an example, at Squeeze, you know, we have a ready button as part of our experience. So when you are on the table ready for your massage to start, you just hit a ready button, or what we call the ready button. It's a button underneath the table. And you let your therapist know, a little light turns on outside the room, and that's how they know to re-enter. Like, that's one of those things that if it didn't exist, you wouldn't otherwise know. But because it does, you're like, oh, someone thought about me in this moment. Someone realized that I wouldn't want to be rushed getting undressed. Or I get on the table in 15 seconds and I want my massage to start now. You know, like, it's those little things that I think really make a difference in someone's experience, and, you know, and create that emotional connection where you feel very loyal to that experience because it's a value to you.
Right. Wow, that is so true, though, the ready button. When I'm in a massage, I'm always like, oh, gosh, I'm hurrying up because...
Right, it's stressful.
It is stressful.
Yeah, it's the opposite of what you want the experience to be.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. So if somebody were to be starting their own personal brand right now, or maybe in the middle of it, let's just say in the middle of their personal brand, what is something that they could just start thinking about? I mean, really, it's like, you know, it's always asking yourself the right questions, and that's going to get you the results that you desire, right? Are there any questions that you ask yourself consistently to make things more innovative and more, you know, feeling the love through the business?
I think it's important to understand what's authentic to you, like what your true differentiation is, and really owning that, you know, so that people feel like they understand who you are. I think it's also important to be relatable. I mean, that's another piece of this idea of a love brand that I love to talk about, is just feeling like the brand is an extension of your identity, who you are. Like, you just naturally relate to it. And we all know brands like that. And I also think, gosh, like, surprise and delight elements exist within experiences and connection points in creating a business that are super meaningful. I really just think it comes down to, like, think about yourself being the recipient of your brand. Like, how do you want that person to feel? And then focus on all the little things that you could be doing to create that feeling.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the magic.
I love it. That's the magic dust you need to sprinkle on it. Okay. You said something just a second ago that you were trying to work yourself out of a job. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Tongue in cheek. I mean, just a joke, but.
Right. But I mean, ultimately, we're all, you know, fighting for freedom. That's exactly what we want in life, is the freedom to literally do things like this today.
Yeah.
If you were stuck in an office every single day, you wouldn't be able to be here.
That's right.
Doing this right now, too. So there's a sense of freedom that we're all striving for in life. How do you think people can get one step closer to that?
That's a great question.
You have multiple companies, too. Makes it a little more challenging, probably.
You know, I actually think that, like, freedom is about what makes you feel the most, like, fulfilled and passionate. So if you're doing something that you feel very passionate about, you feel more like yourself. You feel the ability and the desire to live your life how you want. So I guess I would say, like, focus on doing something that you love. One of our values at Squeeze is actually do what you love and let it love you back. Like, this idea that you are pouring your heart and soul into something, and because of that, it's gonna come back to you. Yeah. And so I think that, you know, a lot of having freedom is just finding something that you feel really excited about, and that in and of itself is just going to naturally open doors for you that you otherwise wouldn't feel if you were stuck in something that just felt like misaligned with who you are.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, when you're going against the grain, I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, it's just, you're not attracting the right opportunities and situations into your life. And I don't do anything anymore if there's not fun in it, right? I don't do it for that long. You know, I might try something.
Well, and people are attracted to you because of that, because like you exude this energy and, you know, this spirit about you because you are choosing to do things like that. And I think like that's a perfect example.
We don't become entrepreneurs not to do things that are fun.
That's right.
Uplifting and enlightening, you know. I mean, there's some behind the scenes things that maybe aren't always the most fun.
Well, that does need to be talked about more. I mean, it's as grueling as it is glamorous. That's for sure.
That's interesting. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about that. So behind the scenes work with what you do. I mean, a lot of the things that you're doing, it's like, it's such a uplifting and inspiring and making people feel good, feel loved, feel special.
Yeah.
Which I adore that part about all of your companies.
Thank you.
You're so in alignment with all of that, which of course I know is very intentional, of course. Yeah. But there's also that part that is the behind the scenes work. During those hard days, what do you do to keep that momentum and that spark still going?
I focus a lot on daily rituals. Like, I do think there's this idea that every day should be a vacation. And I think everyone can apply this to their life. Like, you should find little moments in your day that truly spark joy and, or again, like rituals that you've just built into your day to day that feels really amazing.
Yes.
Particularly for those hard days, because it does just like create like a bit of an alleviation. You know, for me, I have, you know, I take my supplements in the morning, but I do it always with, I actually use Glow C. Well, I'll plug Lori.
Lori Harder.
But
that's how we know each other.
I know
it's through Lori's Girlfriends in Business event.
She's such an amazing connector.
Oh my gosh, I just adore her. She's amazing.
Yeah. But also, you know, someone who's been so intentional in creating a brand that really stands for who they are. And so therefore, you know, you just find people that are aligned with that product and that experience. And so in any case, I start with Glow C and then, you know, take my supplements, and then I've got coffee, and I do a gratitude journal, and, you know, I take like a bit of time for myself, because whatever the day is going to hold, whether it's a super fun one like this or a really hard one where, you know, we're having tough conversations or we're having to problem solve and kind of figure something out, you know, I feel like I still have had a moment for myself. And that I think is so important in anyone's day to day, but particularly when you're building a business and, you know, kind of like the buck stops with you. Everything is ultimately, you know, up to you, or you're having to really kind of navigate it. It's like you just got to find those moments where you have a little bit of a reprieve.
That's really good. You know, I actually wrote my gratitudes this morning, and I wrote you down in my gratitude.
Okay, so
I'm really cheesy for a second, guys. Sorry, but it's very true. I did. I mean, that is. So gratitudes are important.
They are. So I write something. I write 3 to 5 things I'm grateful for every single morning, and I think the practice of like pen to paper is so important, just in terms of like your brain processing information differently. But I will write this tomorrow, because my practice is that I take something, you know, or a few things from the last 24 hours. So it's always like a recency thing. Yeah. And so in any case, this will for sure be on mine tomorrow.
I mean, and you know, thank God the weather turned out beautiful. Otherwise, we might have been walking in the rain today for a split second. But
you know, that would have been just as magical.
It would have.
In its own way.
But what did you say is the Southern saying?
Oh yeah, they have the saying here, if you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes. And it's literally like, I mean, if it was raining, it would change in 10 minutes. So
I think I like the accent better than I do the saying. That's the greatest part.
Me too. It's cute.
It's so cute. No, I actually do like that though with the gratitudes. I mean, there's so many different practices that, you know, you hear through different, you know, personal development gurus and professionals. Like when, you know, we're all speaking on stages, everybody has their own practice. So I think what's interesting is hearing different people's perspective and what keeps your mindset on track, and also how you keep the joy in every day.
I do think like the morning rituals is something that's so common in really, you know, successful driven people. But I think what's so important is like, there's no right thing. Like, just find what feels good for you and do it consistently. And, you know, that will be what ultimately gets your day off to the right start.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so also with all your businesses, one of the things that comes to my mind is you're so busy with like, you know, your personal life, work life. Yeah. How do you manage it all and find the balance, so to speak? There's really no balance, I don't think, anymore.
Yeah, I was
where does that time management come into play, where you still have a, you know, the enjoyment, fulfillment, and excitement of everyday life?
Yeah.
Although you're still living in your purpose, you still want the other component.
There's for sure no such thing as balance, particularly as an entrepreneur. I think that's such a misnomer. And I think that if you believe that to be the case, don't worry, you're wrong. It doesn't exist. We're all, you know, scrambling under the surface like little ducks on, you know, smoothly scrolling across water.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Walking across the bridge.
Right, exactly. But, you know, I do think that like one of the most important things, I was actually just telling a group of women this the other day. I think one of the most important things as you are starting to grow in your leadership role is to focus on the important things, not the urgent things. And that's really hard, I think, in the beginning to delineate. I think it's also really hard as women because we're all people pleasers and we want to like, you know, respond to people in ways that, you know, we're getting back to them or we're doing what they want. But it's so important that you focus on the important things, the things that are really truly going to move your business in like super powerful ways versus the things that are like easy and quick to do and they feel like I should do it right now, but they're really like not going to do anything for you at the end of the day. So I think like those are the things that start to change the course of your life and also your business.
That is such a good point too, because we naturally, I feel like as humans, want to gravitate towards, hey, let's just do this one easy little task, and then 2 hours later,
right,
you're still doing this one thing that doesn't really actually need to be done.
And then you're like, what did this do for me? Yeah, right,
exactly. And then it's wasted time and busy work.
Yes.
You're just prolonging the inevitable of getting done the things that you need to.
Right.
So as far as you mentioned leadership, and that's something that's really inspiring because you lead a lot of people. What are some tips that you would have for entrepreneurs who are maybe just at the beginning stages of growing their team?
Yeah.
And how they could be better leaders and create, because I feel like with your brands, I mean, love is such a huge component of it, making people feel special. Okay. You have to have that as a part of like your internal team values as well.
Yeah, I think to be a great leader, I think vulnerability has to be a part of how you show up every single day. Yeah. I think one of the greatest things that we can do as women in particular in leadership, but just generally anyone in leadership, is to show your human side, is, to not pretend like you have all the answers because you don't. Yeah. We all know that, and so I do think that it's okay to ask for help. I think it's okay to say, hey, I'm not sure. Let's talk it through. Like that's so important. And I think that also creates just like emotional safety with your team. So that's probably, one piece. And the other piece is to like always have fun, kind of infuse that passion, that excitement. Again, particularly if you're an entrepreneur and you're leading a company and this is your idea, like it is your responsibility to keep championing that vision and keep everyone motivated, even when you're not. And that is part of, the hard gig, but it's so important. And then I think probably the third would just be like asking for feedback and consistently making sure that your communication is a two-way street. You're not just, barking orders or kind of commanding your vision, but really making sure that you're understanding what the experience is of your team or your customer, just kind of everything so that it feels very collaborative.
Now, how would you know who the right hire is?
It's a good question.
I mean, you just learn the hard way. And, sometimes it's really amazing and find somebody who's very aligned, very in line with your mission, but then sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
You have to live and learn a little bit too.
Yeah, so we interview based on our values. So we're obviously looking for core competencies, but we have core values at Squeeze. And I think a lot of what makes a great team is cohesion around aligned values. Mm-hmm. And so we just are interviewing for the type of person that we're looking for, not just for the skill set. And I think that if you can kind of, weed out the people who don't align, like those are the harder things to overcome. Mm-hmm. After time. So we focus a lot on, who we are and the values we're looking for, not just the skill set that aligns with, with the function that we're needing to fill. I also encourage, multiple people on the team to interview someone so that it's not just myself or, the hiring manager. Because again, we're a small team. We're a collaborative team. It takes a village. And so I think getting the input from, external people, whether they're going to be working with them kind of adjacently or not, just to kind of like pressure test.
Yeah. No, that's a really good. And also you just get different perspectives too.
Yeah.
And if you're all aligned with your core values, like you said,
yeah,
then you can bring together the best team and ultimate leadership.
That's right.
I really want to dive into the fact that we're standing here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
We're making a massive shift.
City.
Yeah, it's the best city. But you came from Southern California. And
I did.
Like when we do these walk-in talks, I think it's so fun to, of course, highlight your business journey, the internal aspects of what's brought you to where you are today.
Sure.
But also like one of the biggest things too is like your environment.
Yes.
And
such a believer in that.
Yes. And, we have the mutual friend of Chris and Lori Harder that we were just talking about. They were just here and saying how they love the city. And it's just like, I see the group of friends that you are constantly around. How important do you think that is in playing a role in the journey of entrepreneurship?
Man, it has been like my lifeline,
Yeah.
First of all, talking about environment, I always say Nashville has big city feel, but small town charm. Like there's so much going on. Any day of the week, you can go listen to music, you can try out a new restaurant. Like it's so fun, but the people here are just good. Like, there's such qualities of true like friendship and support. I feel like the entrepreneurial community in particular is so powerful here. And I've just found it's far less transactional, coming from Los Angeles, where it's kind of like,
That's night and day difference, probably.
yeah, like, what can you do for me? It's not about that here. It's like, how can I help you? And how can we just genuinely connect and support each other and just be champions of what we're doing? I mean, that like exists all day long, and I love it so much. I feel so aligned here in like so many ways, and it's just awesome.
I love that. I used to live in LA, actually.
Yeah.
And, I love how you know. That's why I laughed so. I probably blew out the mic when I laughed when you said that. Because, I mean, it is way more transactional. I loved LA. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely loved living there.
Of course.
But there is a sense of, what did you say? A big city feel, small town charm. That is literally the best thing I've heard about. That is so true with Nashville.
It really is.
I love that.
It's so genuine and authentic. And, I think it's like we look around the city and there's like cranes galore, right? Which also just means that there's so much momentum and energy and development. Like it's palpable what's happening here. And I think that also just creates such a cool energy amongst individuals who thrive on that, right? Who thrive on like growing and contributing to growth. And that's what it feels like. It's like we're all just here contributing to this awesome city that we live in.
It's so cool. So if somebody's listening and they are in Nashville or maybe even thinking about moving to Nashville, how can they get involved in the entrepreneurial scene?
We are overlooking or close to it, the Entrepreneurial Center, and there's an actual building and organization dedicated to entrepreneurship here. So I would say that's a great place to start.
We should have done our walk and talk over there.
I know, it's so true. And then there's also just like incredible organizations, women's groups, and I'm a part of like so many of the co-working spaces and stuff too, because I just like meet great people, through that. And I also really try and like get out and about, go to socials and whatnot, because it's just I've always just met really quality people. And again, it's like one of those places where you meet someone one place and then you go to coffee with them and you go for a hike with them, and then all of a sudden they're like part of your life, and that just feels so sweet. It's like really life-giving.
I love that. Okay, so what is one thing in your life that absolutely it could be business, personal, Nashville. Yeah. What's one thing that just lights you up that you are so passionate about? Somebody says Brit Driscoll. What do you want them to think?
I hope like quality relationships, I mean, I feel like the older I get, the more I am so grateful for just meaningful connection, and particularly women. I think as we get older, it's like friendships just are so incredibly soul giving, and like just create so much safety, I think, and also inspiration. So I would say that I hope that I'm just a really good friend and getting better at that every day.
Yeah, that's so true though. I mean, friendship, I feel like, especially as an entrepreneur, it's harder to find. And now I feel like I'm finally at the place where I'm personally surrounded by a lot of great female friends. Yeah. But there is a spot there where it is sometimes a little bit challenging.
Totally.
Because you're going through this stage of life where you have friends from your past.
Yep.
You have people in your future, but you're not really there yet.
Right.
But you want to be. Yeah. You want to be there, but then you're stuck in this middle ground of like, how do I make friends?
Yeah.
That are genuine and not just wanting to be friends because of business.
Right.
Although that's great. That's a beautiful thing. But also like actually want to get to know me, and I can actually be safe and vulnerable with them.
That's right.
Where it's not a judgment place, or, they're not going to buy my product or my service if they actually know my deepest like fears or
but they will. That actually creates, like, going back to that idea of vulnerability, like it equates to permission, right? Like you become more relatable if they aspire to be like you, or they know some of the things you're struggling with, and you're also doing awesome things. Like I think for women that makes me feel like, oh, I can do awesome things too. Like here's this other woman doing just like amazing things, and they're also a real person,
right?
And they have real life problems. Yes,
weird. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think the entrepreneurial centers and the the co-working spaces in those places are such a great starting point for people. And I'm like obsessed with this city. I'm like, I don't know. Is this
well, I have a recruiting campaign, so I try and get everyone I love to move here. So just come on down. Hey, I'll ping you like every 2 days. I'm like, so are you thinking about it? Have you? Here's a couple of houses. Here's a fun city to get, or neighborhood to live in.
Start sending me Zillow listings.
Yeah.
I love it. So what do you have coming up the pipeline that you're really looking forward to and excited about? I know we talked about some things off camera that you have exciting
Yes.
things, news coming up, but you're not quite announcing it yet. But
Right.
anything else?
You know, we're opening 10 more locations this year. I mean, again, going back to like pre-pandemic, we had this one little location. We were shut down for a year. Like there was just so much turmoil kind of getting to any sense of momentum. So it just feels so exciting to be going into so many new cities and championing other entrepreneurs. You know, we're scaling Squeeze through franchising. So every city, you know, there are independent owners, and that feels really amazing too, just to support their growth and their passion. So I'm just excited to continue, you know, the momentum of where we're at. Like it feels like it took a long time to get here, and we really had to work hard at it. And so I'm just trying to kind of like savor the momentum for right now and continue to build from it.
Yes, be in the present.
Yeah.
Be in the momentum.
That's
I
right.
love it. So if somebody wants to be a franchise owner of Squeeze, what's the process look like and how can they do that?
Yeah, it's about a 4 to 6 week process. We have a lot of information, a lot of, you know, process built into really understanding what it takes, both in terms of expectations of our owners, how we support. But, you know, at the same time, it's only 4 to 6 weeks. There's a lot that goes into it at that time. And then you sign your franchise agreement and you're underway and looking for a location and getting up and running. So, and we are looking for amazing people all around the country. 85% of our owners are women.
Wow.
Which I feel really proud about. So yeah, if you're passionate about health and wellness, you know, want to have your own business in your own community, it's a really great opportunity.
I love that. I just love everything that you're doing. But honestly, like one of the biggest things that I loved about you and why I asked you to come on the show was because when I saw you speaking at Girlfriends in Business, like there's some speakers that are not as relatable, genuine, kind of going back to like the vulnerability aspect and just the relatability, but you just have such a genuine heart to literally serve others, women especially too. And of course, I'm about women empowerment every day, all day. But just your genuine spirit and nature about you is what is so inspiring. And I hope our listeners today could, you know, of course you could see it, hopefully if you watch on YouTube, but otherwise just, you know, on podcasts too, like you can hear it through your voice and your passion that like you genuinely care and love on others and want to make them feel special. So
yeah, life is short. You know, I feel like we all have the opportunity to leave each other a little bit better, and like, why not live your life that way? There's a lot of, you know, good that comes from it.
This was so amazing. And I'm just so excited to hear about your journey. I wanted to share you with our listeners because you have such a beautiful heart. And of course, your businesses are incredible. Everybody go check out Squeeze if you're interested in being a franchise owner. We'll put all the details in the show notes too.
Thank you.
But I'm excited to watch your growth and just be, you know, along your journey as just another female entrepreneur in business.
Well,
so
thank you
for coming on the show today.
Incredible things too. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Tori Kruse Show. If today's episode inspired you, let's keep the momentum going. For our YouTube family, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're always in the loop with our latest episodes. And for our podcast listeners, your ratings and reviews are incredibly valuable. They help us reach more people and continue bringing inspiring stories your way. Remember, this isn't just a podcast, it's a growing community of family. Every like, share, and review helps us grow on our journey together, helping us to highlight more impactful stories. Until next time, keep being the light for yourself and others. See you on the next adventure.